Hello, welcome to the Usable Marketing Podcast. And today I want to talk a little bit about strategy and results, right? So here's the thing about strategy. I've been thinking about this. And folks, a lot of what we do here is strategy. What you should be doing is strategy before you actually start to do your execution plan. But what's really important is to understand what strategy is, right? Strategy is basically an approach. It's a plan. It's sort of your plan of action, right? And if we think of battle, for example, you can sketch out a brilliant strategy, but the strategy is going to have a lot to do with, well, what are the conditions, right? What are the conditions of the battlefield, right? What do we expect the weather to be? Who are we fighting? Who are my troops? What kind of equipment do I have, et cetera, et cetera. And then you'll draw up a battle plan. Now, here's the thing. You can have a great battle plan and it can be perfect, but what happens is sometimes the conditions change, right? And usually that's when you need to start taking a look at, is this strategy still appropriate for the battle that I am going to war with, or whatever it happens to be? So, thinking about this, like thinking about the battle, right? Like there's the actual geography, right? What is the market landscape? What are the conditions I'm going into this battle with? Then there's the troops, right? Who are my troops in terms of, like, do I have the right staff? Do I have the right skill set? Do they have the right training to get this thing done? I can't tell you how many times we have worked with leadership teams and sketched out really great strategies for how to go to market or how to go into a new territory or introduce a new product. But then when it gets to actually operating and execution, the internal teams aren't really equipped, don't have the skills, the training, the bandwidth, whatever it happens to be, in order to be able to actually execute that strategy appropriately, right? Another thing we have is the equipment, right? So when we think of, there's battle equipment and guns and tanks or whatever those happen to be. Sorry, I'm not fantastic at the battle metaphors, but from marketing, it's like, do I have the right processes? Do I have the right systems? Do I have the right software? Am I going to have the right automation? Like, how do I actually make sure this thing continues to run day after day, even when somebody gets sick or whatever that happens to be? And then little things like even the weather, right? The climate can play a condition on, or can play a role in how that battle turns out. I mean, I use this when you think of like football or soccer or some sort of sport that's played outside, right? Different things can happen when you're playing in weather, where a team that maybe wasn't expected to win all of a sudden wins, or a team that's usually flawless somehow kind of buckles under the pressure because the weather plays a role. So what's important when you're thinking about strategy is definitely understand the conditions that you're going in, but also know in advance that strategies are not fixed things. You come up with a plan of attack for a set of circumstances, and then you have to constantly be vigilant about watching to see if those circumstances have changed. If you have a strategy that works and it starts not to work, you have to go back and visit what has changed, what are the conditions. If you've sketched out a great strategy on paper and it's not working in real life, you need to break that down, all the pieces in the value chain, and figure out which piece isn't working, right? You wouldn't quit the war if you lose one battle. And I see so many people start these strategies for marketing something, and then they kind of pause and because they're like, oh, I'm not getting the results that I want. And they're like, oh, this is a terrible idea. I'm going to move on to the next thing. It's a terrible idea. I mean, you've just like lost all sorts of like mental equity, effort, time, money, probably, when you just needed to kind of break down your value chain and see what has changed. A great example, we've been doing this 30-day challenge is yesterday we actually launched a small lead funnel, right? The lead funnel is very simple. It's I build strategies all the time. I always start with a persona because you have to know your target audience. That's one of the things that we say constantly. When you're doing the marketing canvas, it starts with one thing, your customer. That's the name of the game. You're in the customer business. And if you want to get customers, you need to know your customers, right? So you got to start with a target persona. Well, having done like a zillion personas in my lifetime, I have scoured the internet. And of course, I have sort of my 10 favorite persona templates that I look to for inspiration when I'm going into a new client. It's not one. You don't want to have just one template, because one template isn't really perfect for every situation. You need a few. But anyway, so we're launching this funnel that it's like, hey, get my 10 favorite persona templates so that you can save the time. You don't have to go on the internet and look for all of these things. We're going to send them to you in a nice PDF. Okay, that's my offer. But so first of all, is the offer any good? We've got to figure that out. That's a piece of the strategy. The other thing we're going to do is we're setting up these pages, right? We've got basically a funnel that says, hey, this is what I'm offering. It's the 10 best persona templates that I've used, so you don't have to go looking for them for yourself. Give us your email address and we're going to send you these 10 best persona templates. It's really as simple as that. It's not a complicated funnel. But okay, so we've got to check that piece. We've also got to send traffic into it, right? So we also set up a small Facebook campaign yesterday to start sending traffic. And we set 2 different targets, right? So what we did first is we're testing little bits along the way. We had one that's a digital marketer target and then another target that's really more of a general business target. Well, we let those things run for a little over 24 hours now, and it's super clear who is actually interested in these personas as the digital marketer. So we're like, okay, great. That was a nice little split test. We turned that off. We turned the general business person target off, and we're letting just the marketer run because it's doing really, really great, and it's sending people to the page for just a few cents per page, which is awesome. However, we have a problem. It's been 24 hours. We've sent traffic to the page. No one has actually given us their email address yet. So like, what's our next thing is we're not going to quit the battle. We're not going to quit the war. Our next thing is we know that we've got something compelling. The offer is compelling because when we said, hey, is this something that you're interested in? Go here to get it. Folks said, yeah. And they went to the page. But then there's something on the page that isn't working. Well, we also happen to be testing 2 different versions of the page. One was very simple. It's literally just a squeeze box. The other one has a lot more information. Well, we split test that, and we already found out in 24 hours that the very simple page just isn't performing. So we killed that off. But the longer page that has a little bit more explanation isn't doing great. It's just not converting yet. Now, granted, very small sample, very little traffic, etc. But our next piece is we have to figure that out. So what I'm trying to explain to you is the strategy, I believe, is still a good one. But we have to test each little piece step by step. The offer seems to be compelling because people are going to the page. We also know that one page performed better than the other. We know that one target market performed better than the other. And now what we have to do is make sure that we're building enough confidence on the page that you're going to actually save tons of time, which you will, by getting this free document with my 10 favorite templates, and that we're not going to mislead you in any way, right? That what you're putting your email address in for is actually what you're going to get, which is what it is, by the way. But we haven't done that well enough on the page, we know, so that's our next thing to worry about. So all of this just to say there's strategy and then there's your results, right? And they are not the same thing. Because you're not seeing the results yet does not mean that your strategy is bad. It means you need to do more testing. You need to figure out which pieces are the ones that you really need to kind of deliver on. Maybe we're not articulating on the page well enough that you are going to get a PDF document that has 10 templates with the links to the sources of all of those documents so that you can create them for yourself. Probably could do better on that, which is something I'll work on tonight. But anyway, that's it for today. Strategy, results. Stay in the game. Stay in the war. Don't worry if you're stumbling in one battle. That doesn't mean the whole thing is over, but make sure that you're testing on every little piece along the value chain. That's it. I will see you tomorrow. Oh, last thing, please. If you're getting any value from this whatsoever, please like this, rate this, share this would be awesome. Share it with your friends. We are now on iTunes, which is huge. So you can actually go and find the Usable Marketing Podcast on iTunes and get it delivered to your phone or wherever you listen to podcasts every day. All right. See you tomorrow.